Hello, everyone. Welcome to CXO Spice. CXO Spice is a platform where thought leaders share their point of view on innovation and explain how to make it happen in the real world. I'm your host, Helen Yu. Today's topic is AI voice agents. Joining me today is Lauren Rothwell, Head of Agent Growth at 11 Lab. Hello, Lauren. Welcome to CXO Spice.
Hi, Helen. Excited to be here. And yeah,
You
excited to share a
know,
bit more about 11 Labs today.
Yeah, congratulations to 11 Labs team on the recent $500 million raise on $11 billion evaluation. And you achieved $330 million ARR in 2025. Wow. I'm so happy to have
Yeah,
you here. Yeah.
it's a really incredible milestone, and yeah, we're super proud over here. And the team worked really hard over the last couple of years. But yeah, it's incredible that we've been able to grow so quickly, having only launched in 2023.
Awesome. Kudos, right? Here's a digital toast. I can't wait to meet you in person one of these days and celebrate in person. But before we jump in, Lauren, tell us about your journey, right? All these success wouldn't just happen by accident. What led you into this space and what does agent growth mean at 11 Labs?
Yeah, of course. So 11 Labs launched its first set of models in early 2023. So it's about 3 years ago now, and they started off with a vision to automatically dub content. The founders were Polish, and they had a vision to be able to automatically understand the content and TV shows that they were consuming in their native language, rather than having a kind of unnatural experience watching a dubbed movie. Over time, they continue to innovate and build some of the best audio AI models in the world. And today, our mission is to redefine how humans interact with technology. And it's a really unique time for us to be focusing on that mission, especially as how anyone interacts with technology is truly changing. Before, if you wanted to do any work, you had to kind of sit on your phone and or sit on your laptop and text, across all your emails. And nowadays, people can just ask a AI chat agent or voice agent to answer any question. There's no need to search anything in the ways that you used to, or commit code in a very manual way. And so we're really excited to be on this mission to redefine how humans interact with technology here at 11 Labs. And the two kind of main pillars that we think about with that is our agents platform and our creative platform. On the agents platform side, we're really enabling companies to deliver instant support to their customers in a fashion that will really elevate the customer experience. And then on the creative platform side, we're really encouraging and helping teams to generate content and creative and in brand new ways using AI models to make their work a lot easier.
I can certainly use that creative platform one of these days, but such an inspiring story, with the origin story. Thank you for sharing that. Let's zoom out for a moment, right? To really appreciate where voice AI is going, we need to understand the reality enterprises are still dealing with today. If we rewind the clock a bit, before voice AI agents were even on the table, what did the customer service and operation typically look like? And even now, what are the biggest pain points enterprises are still struggling with?
Yeah, so if we rewind the clock and think about how many enterprises are doing customer support in the recent past, but also a lot of folks are still doing support in this way today, is that they have a contact center with a lot of human operators, and then they have tools that help them direct people within that, direct users to certain specialists within that contact center. So we call that IVR, and so oftentimes a user might call in to get help with, say, a transaction that they don't recognize. They'll navigate through pressing one for billing issue, pressing two for transaction related issue, and so on and so forth to reach a human. And before they reach that human, they may have to wait on hold as well. And then that human will authenticate them, ask some questions to validate if the transaction was real or not, and then perhaps actually process a card cancellation and reissuance. So all of these things typically used to take 10 to 30 minutes for a resolution, especially in some of the more complicated problems. And so that is just a really long time to be waiting on the phone, and it's super inconvenient. The alternative was using chatbots. And so you could go online and see if there's a chatbot on the website or in the mobile app. And really the experience with chatbots has been very poor. And so in the last, say, 5 to 10 years, a lot of folks have stopped really bothering with them because they were so basic, and it was as simple as, you ask a question, it picked up on a keyword, and then it redirected you to a help article, which just didn't answer your question necessarily. And so I think customers have had a super frustrating experience with AI and or purportedly AI chatbots, and we think that in the last year or two, and since we started building our offering out, the models have become much better, and as a result, you can program the agents to actually take action and resolve issues rather than just redirect someone to a help article, and they can do that in a very natural way because the voice models have also become very emotionally expressive, and that's a little bit about what's changed as well.
I can relate to that, Lauren. The other day, I was put on hold 20 minutes after being rerouted 5 times and couldn't really have a simple appointment scheduled, right? So, absolutely. And think about that at enterprise, like you can, so, if you have 10, you handle 10,000 support calls a day, right? But you said something really struck with me when we spoke earlier that the future is conversational. That
Yep.
sounds very powerful, but it also a bold claim, right? Let's unpack that a little bit. What does that mean for an enterprise? Let's say 10,000 support calls a day. How does conversational AI change the, economics, and the experience at that scale?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big thing that is going to change for enterprises as they move forward is that the expectations around getting access to instant support will change. And so if you're a consumer, and most of the brands that you use have released new experiences, which mean that you can talk to a human like agent and actually get your issue resolved very quickly. And then, for those brands that do not yet offer that experience, it's going to be a very stark difference. And therefore, your expectations are going to change. And so for those large companies who don't decide to innovate and start to adopt the latest technology, they will really be left behind a little bit. And so I think what it means is there's a necessity because of the fact that expectations will change amongst customers, but there's also a big opportunity to both drive new revenue streams. If you get creative with conversational agents, you could have a concierge agent that is, say, upselling the customer as well as supporting the customer, because they will have full context on that customer's transaction history as well as demographics, etc., whatever might live in the CRM. And so you can imagine that, and we do have some customers already implementing flows like this, that as a customer calls up maybe to get help with troubleshooting their Wi-Fi, perhaps that telecoms company could also, understand, oh, this person is qualified for this particular deal. Why don't we also let them know at the end of the call that there's an opportunity there? This is something that's very hard to do with humans, because humans in the real world have to be trained on quite a specific set of procedures and policies. And in the AI world, we all know by talking with ChatGPT that AI has such a vast understanding of the world, and can ingest a lot more information more easily. So they can kind of both support but also upsell as well at the same time, which is a huge opportunity for companies.
That vision is very compelling. But enterprise technology decisions don't really happen in a vacuum, right? Vision always meets reality, especially with CTOs, engineering leaders. What's really holding them back from building voice agent in-house? Is it talent, infrastructure, risks, or something deeper in how enterprises think about AI ownership?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest one that people are worried about is how the agents behave in production. And so, what I mean by that is enterprises might be concerned that if they were to release an AI agent into say their or I guess to interact with their customers, that agent might say something that is out of policy. Maybe they would issue a refund when they weren't supposed to. Maybe they might even hallucinate and say something that offends someone in some way, and there's a lot of brand risk associated with that. And so what we've built into our system is a lot of enterprise grade guardrails, and so you can kind of customize what are the things that you do and don't want agents to do, and with that you're able to ensure at a much higher probability that the agents behave as expected. And so that's a big one. It's kind of like trust and making sure that the agents are compliant and well behaved. And then the other things are in and around data security and ensuring that teams are in compliance with potentially regulatory requirements. So for us, we have, for example, data residency options across all different regions, including the EU and India, and because we've found, being a global company, that that is a requirement of a lot of global companies to make sure that their data is stored on servers in their particular country. So that's another thing that is oftentimes a blocker on deals, is that you need to be very sure that data security and compliance is all meeting the requirements of your organization. And then on the compliance side, we have a great team that is working around the clock to continue to ensure that we achieve every compliance and data security certification that might be relevant for your company. We're already SOC 2, HIPAA, as well as PCI compliant. And then we have regional data residency as well as zero retention mode options as well, alongside a number more certifications if that is relevant for your particular organization.
Yeah, I love that. It's very thoughtful and prudent, right? Especially data residency and compliance measure all
Yeah.
embedded in the tools so that the users don't have to worry so much about. Skepticism tends to disappear when results show up. So let's make this a little bit more concrete, right? Can you walk us through a specific customer example where 11 Labs agents made a measurable difference? And what really changed like before and after, and what metrics moved?
Yeah, of course. I can give you an example of a customer that recently deployed 11 Labs agents to get an 8 times faster time to resolution. And that customer is Revolut, which is one of the largest fintech providers globally. They serve about 70 million customers. So we recently launched a customer story with them, and you can go check it out on our website and see a quick demo as well. But they had a challenge in that they were trying to serve users across over 40 different markets with all
Hmm.
sorts of different languages. And they also wanted to provide a very high kind of quality support level for some of their more premium customers as well. And so what they did was in order to expedite some of the processes that they might need to follow as a fintech, like reissuing a card. I think dispute handling was another big area of focus for them. They were able to deploy our agents to support customers in over 31 languages, and speed up that time to resolution by 8 times, which is an incredible result to see. And we're really excited to have partnered with them because they're a brand that have an incredible range of products, and they have incredible opportunity to use conversational agents across those products.
Well, 8 times faster, I'll take that anytime, right?
Yeah.
So those results don't just happen by accident. They're driven by some very deliberate technical choices. And one word that keeps coming up is latency. Now, let's get a little technical for a moment. And you're promising sub 150 millisecond latency with Scribe v2. What does that number, why does that number matter so much for real conversations? And why should a CTO care about that threshold specifically?
Yes, absolutely. So latency is a really important component of agent conversations because it really affects how natural conversations are. So you mentioned that our Scribe B2 real-time API can deliver full transcriptions in under 150 milliseconds, but actually within our agents platform where we co-locate that model alongside all the other elements that you need in a conversational agent, and we are able to deliver that in under 80 milliseconds. And so
Mm.
anyone who's not familiar with milliseconds,
80,
it's
wow. Yeah.
1,000 milliseconds in 1 second. So 100 milliseconds is zero point 0.1 of a second. It's such a tiny amount of time, and so what we think about when it comes to latency in an agent setting is that all of the pieces of the puzzle need to be operating at a speed and combined to feel natural. And so what I mean by that is the agent needs to actually process what you're saying. So that's the transcription step. They need to get that transcription, pass it to the LLM. So that's the reasoning step where the LLM will kind of understand what was said, look through maybe the knowledge base and the set of policies to come up with the answer. And then there's the speaking step where the LLM will pass that output to the text to speech model, and that text to speech model will speak it out, and that's your response from the agent. But all of these things need to happen in tandem. And also the agent needs to understand when is it its turn to speak. And that can be, detected from a number of cues, but it could be just the end of a sentence. It could be even the way that you say something. And we're able, as a platform that both builds the models, we build the transcription models as well as the text to speech models. We also have some self-hosted or 11 Labs hosted LLMs as well to speed things up further. And we have a turn taking model. So we combine all of these
Mhm.
models in one server. And so as a result of that, we can deliver a very, very fast end-to-end turn latency, meaning how quickly the agent can respond.
How many
And
how
we can
many
cache.
models do you have? Wait a minute, how many
Oh,
models? You love.
I couldn't tell you. I mean, we
Okay.
try and keep the latest and greatest live and
Okay.
deprecate the rest, but we do a transcription, we do text to speech, we
Mm.
have sound effects, you've got a music model,
Mhm.
there's a lot of different audio AI
Okay.
models that we built.
All right. Well, in a simple word, low latency is what makes conversation feel human, feel
Yeah.
real, right? So, but once enterprise realize voice agent can really solve problems, that's really cool, right? So we've talked a lot about what's possible today, Lauren, and what's finally working as well, right? So kudos to all of you. And let's look ahead. If we fast forward 18 to 24 months, where do you see voice AI agents going next, right? Which industry or functions do you think that will be transformed next?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in this day and age, it's actually a lot more rare than expected for when you call a brand for customer support to actually hear an AI agent. It's been a bit fun because we know some of the brands now that are using us, and so we can call them up and listen to our agents and whatnot. But generally speaking, it's probably sub 1% of companies today are actually live in production at
Mhm.
scale with AI agents. I think as we look forward to the next 18 to 24 months, that percent penetration is going to be significantly higher. Like
Mhm.
my bet is within 2 years, about 1 in 3 brands will have this experience, and what will change is that I'll be able to get instant support whenever I want it, and it's going to be a lot easier for me to make purchase decisions. So if I'm navigating a retail brand, there's going to be a way for me to converse via voice or via chat with an AI agent, and be able to answer any questions that I need answers to, or get answered any questions that I need answers to, or get recommendations on the spot in a way that really drives me to make that purchase. So I think that there'll be a lot more support. There'll be a lot higher penetration. I think that the agents are already incredibly expressive, especially with the V3 conversational model that we just launched in the agents platform recently. And but that will continue to improve to the point that you just really don't know if you're talking to an AI agent or a human, which will be a pretty mind-blowing experience when we get there.
Well, I'm excited about the future. Thank you so much for painting that picture. I find our conversation extremely inspiring and insightful. Before we wrap up, here are the three key takeaways from our conversation today. Number one, voice AI has crossed the line from experimentation to production. The Revolut, right, story really hit home with me, and 8 times faster in 40 different markets. That's impressive, right? Also used for like 31 languages for them. So really bravo. And enterprise aren't asking if voice agent work anymore. They should be asking how fast they can deploy them responsibly at scale, right? Number two is conversational quality is a technical moat, right? Latency, reliability, and realism are core infrastructure decisions that directly impact adoption and trust. And thank you for building in the data residency, the compliance and security into the solution so that companies don't have to worry about that while using the tool, using 11 Labs. Lastly, the real value comes from action rather than conversation. Voice AI delivers ROI when it's deeply integrated into enterprise systems, triggering workflows, solving issues, reducing operational load end to end. So, really, I also align with your vision. Hopefully, we'll see one out of the three brands or even more in the next 2 to 3 years to adopt solutions like this. And that's a win-win for all of us, right? So, Lauren, thank
Right.
you so much for joining us on CXO Spice today. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Stay hungry, stay bold, and stay grateful.
Amazing. Thanks for having me, Helen.
Thank you, Lauren.